So hello everyone, welcome to a new video. So today we are going to learn the getters and setters Python. So let's get started. So let's firstly start with the introduction. So in object-oriented programming known as OOP, getters and setters are methods that use to control access to an object's attributes that also known as properties or instance variables. They provide a way to encapsulate the internal representation of an object, allowing you to validate data, enforce constraints, and perform other operations when an attribute is accused or modified. While Python doesn't have private variables in the same way as language like Java, the convention is to use a leading underscore to indicate that an attribute is intended for the internal use. So this underscore is used to indicate that an attribute is intended to use for internal purpose. So now there's a question that how can we use the getters and setters? How they help us in writing our code? What are their tasks to perform and just reduce the complexities for a code. So encapsulate and data enforce validation. You can check if the new value meets certain criteria before assigning it. You can check before if the new value meets certain criteria before assigning it. And the control access to private attributes by convention. Attributes starting with an underscore are considered private, and external code should use getters and setters instead of direct access. It makes the code more maintainable. That changes to the internal representation of an object don't necessarily require changes to code that uses the project. And apart from that, they add the additional logic. Logic can be added when getting or setting the attributes. So now we will see how can we use the getters and setters. Firstly, we will start with the traditional approach. So the basic approach, we are going to write the code for it. So the basic traditional method. So the basic traditional method to using getters and setters method is like that. Firstly, we will make the class and then we'll initialize it now with the brackets self comma name as we are doing again and again, and then I am going to write name. Previously we were just writing only self dot name, and right now I have wrote self dot underscore name. Here it is a convention that we use underscore that denotes uh, that indicate that an attribute is intended for the internal use only. It's just a conventional. Now we are making a get name with the self, and after returning the self dot underscore name, we can see that the def set name self comma new name can be also work like this. We are changing self dot name as a previous function, and we are just giving a new value to this variable new name. So यहाँ से वैल्यू जाएगी और फिर ये self dot name के अंदर स्टोर हो जाएगी. So let's try this. Person Alice is there. Now we are going to print it. Just we are calling get name. So what will the get name do? tell me. And similarly, we're going to print one more name as Bob. Okay, so now let's call it, run this Python program. So it gives me Alice and Bob. So get name returns, firstly the function stores this value in the self dot name, and then it returns the self dot name only. That's the thing that we have done right now. Nothing so much complicated. Now we will learn the using property method. It's also the known as Pythonic approach. So Python provides a more elegant and concise way to implement getters and setters using the property decorator. This allows you to access and modify attributes using the usual dot notation, just like p.name, while still having the benefits of getters and setter methods. Let's try it with it. Example. I am just copying the previous code and let's do the changes in it only. For example, let's copy paste for you. Let's name it property method, and which is also known as Pythonic approach. So in it we have class person def. In it we have stored the value in the self dot underscore name. Now we are going to use get name. No, we just want name with the self method, and in it we use the property decorator, and in लेट्स इसको भी चेंज करते हैं, इसको भी नेम करते हैं, एंड इस पे भी एट द रेट नेम डॉट सेट. So what it has done, that now we can use it and call it. So name self new name. So this is the getter that we have made, and now as we have so it is the setter. Now p is equals to person Alice, print p dot name. No need to call anything, and Alice calls the getter as name. Now p dot name is equals to, let's say, Bob. And now when we call this function, so it is now calling the setter. Let me write in the setter, and it is calling the get. Now let's run it. Now you all are thinking that what is the benefits of using the property tag. So there are the several benefits of property. For example, it gives us the attribute like access. As you can use the object.name instead of object.getName and object.setName, making the code more cleaner and readable, as we have seen in the our example 2.py. It gives us consistent interface. So what does I mean by the consistent interface? The external interface of your class remains the consistent Even if you later decide to add a validation or other logic to the getter or setter, it will become the consistent only. Now it has the read-only properties as well. So what does I mean by it? That you can create a read-only properties by simply omitting the property.setter method that we are going to see in the next section. And it has also the thing like property dot deleter. So what does it do? That it deletes a property. Let's try it with an example. Mm, Example 3.py. So now I copy it from the previous code, save our time. We're just trying to delete it. So I just made a class named as person, just initialize it again, self dot underscore name, where underscore is just a conventional method to show that we are going to use as insider operations inside it, and the add the properties, and these are getters, these are setters as I explained it previously. And after that, let's add now we have to try to delete it, so let's add delete uh, name dot deleter, as we have done in the previously name dot setter, similarly name dot deleter. So now what we have to delete? Tab dot name, which is stored in the instance variable. Now we have to just use the del function, del variable. So just we are going to delete it. Now when we are going to call uh, let's remove the pop. Now we have deleted it from here as well. Now what do you think that what is the output that we are going to get? So firstly understand the code. We have just made a class, initialize a function, stored the name into the instance variable self dot underscore name, then made a getter with that property decorators, and then return the self dot name. And after setting it, we use the setter to store the new name into this, and then delete it. Now when we um, give the values of b is equals to person Alice, so in this class name Alice is goes to self dot underscore name, and now we are going to print it. So we will going to get Alice, and now we are deleting it and then again printing it. So it must give the attribute error to us. Yeah, as you can see that we got the attribute error. That person object has no attribute underscore name. Did you mean name only? So that's the thing that we can delete, the properties here. So we understood it by this example. Now let's move on to the read-only properties. What I mean by the read-only properties. So if you want an attribute to be read-only, define only by the property decorator, the getter, which is the getter, and omit the name.setter method. Attempting to set the attribute will then raise an attribute error. So now let's uh, try it with an example. Example 4.py. So let's took a different example. Class person is, we have used it so much. Now let's make a class circle. Now in circle it's common what I am going to use. I am going to use radius. Now, as you all know that what I am going to use it now here, self dot underscore radius is equals to radius. Why I am getting the error? Okay, I just done up one mistake there. So now let's use our property decorator, depth radius, calling the self, and then just returning the self dot underscore radius that we have stored the value here, and then again making a different property, again using the property decorator, and one thing that we are going to create is area now. So what is the formula to take out the area of the circle? So as we know that pi r square is the formula, so we are going to use prox value of the pi 3.14. Let's go in a little bit more approximation towards the reality, and we are not going to use area, we are not going to use radius, we are going to use self dot underscore radius because it's the only instance variable we has right now at this moment. So now let's give it radius 5 to the self dot underscore radius. Now let's print it. What is it is going to give us? It is going to give us 5. Now let's print the area. C dot area. What it is going to give us? The program is going to do it. 78.54. Now if we could look at the c dot radius is equals to 10, then what do you think what is going to happen? If we run this code, it gives us the attribute error because the property of radius of circle object has no setter right now. It raises the attribute error. And similarly, if we uh, try to modify it the area to 20, it will again give the double error. It gives us that the property area of circle object has no setter. So we have seen that without using the only using the property decorator, it is only remained in the read only mode. So this is what I mean, that if you want an attribute to be read only, define only the @, property decorator, which is the getter, and omit the name.getter method. So this we have understood it by this example. So now let's do the recap that what we have learned in this session. So getters and setters provide control access to an object's attribute, promoting the encapsulation and data validation. The @property decorator offers a cleaner and more Pythonic way to implement the getters and setters, allowing attribute-like access. As we seen that it also gives us the several advantages that I have discussed earlier in the lecture. So now you can create a read-only properties by defining only a getter using the property with a corresponding of at the rate attribute dot setter. Here attribute can be anything that we have used, just like name dot setter, circle dot setter, whatever it is. Okay, so and by using the aggregate property you can dynamically compute the values like we have compute the values of the area and the circle example while maintaining an attribute-less syntax. So that's all for today, guys. We have completed the getter and setter methods using some good beginner level questions. Now you have to upscale with the more good questions and practice it. Nowadays you can use to practice good questions to the ChatGPT Perplexity to get the good questions. No need of any website or something like that, and just uh, use it kind of like a that it is your tutor. Okay, so see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye. If you have any doubt, you can just type it in the comment box. I will answer all your doubts. Okay, bye bye.